of you with all the great women of innovation ecosystem. I, Priyanka Ravla, invite every woman leader, entrepreneur, mentor, and pioneer on behalf of T-Hub. Unlocking entrepreneurship among women in India provides an unprecedented opportunity to change the economic and social trajectory of India and its women generations to come. T-Hub believes that focused efforts from all stakeholders will benefit in creating gender-inclusive ecosystem. Keeping this in mind, we have encouraged and promoted women entrepreneurs as they are vital for our economic growth. We have pushed successful programs to empower women founders by providing them with the incubation support, access to market, mentors, and corporates. Women-led startups at T-Hub like Monitra, Sanshodhan, Waste Ventures, Life Circle are being nurtured to achieve global success. We have also built a wonderful support system through energetic women leaders like all of you to inspire the upcoming entrepreneurs. Let's get our entrepreneurs event started. Considering the uncertain time of pandemic, we believe that prevention is always better than cure. So I request Srinivas Taluka, Director of Facilities at T-Hub, to help us with the safety protocol.
Good evening, everyone. At T-Hub, safety is priority. So as on today, right now in the hall we have 55 people, including all the people visited us. So as people enter, and we'll be counting the numbers, so we have a head count. So in case of an emergency, please do not get panic. You are in a safest building, and we have an assembly point just in front of the building. So we have two emergency exits. One is at the back of this hall. So as soon as you hit the right side, there's an emergency exit which leads to assembly area, and the hall, the entrance which you have entered to this hall is the entry. So in case of an emergency, you can use these two exits. And then I request everyone to please save this number on your phone. It is 040 6639 6639. This is an emergency contact number. In case of any emergency or any help you required in the building, so we are ready to help you. So thank you very much.
Now, I would like to invite the person who took lead in making this gathering possible, and he has been striving hard to build a gender inclusive environment at this very place. He is none other than our CEO, Mr. M. Srinivas Rao, who is a serial entrepreneur by himself and has taken various roles in the ecosystem in the last 3 decades to enable and empower this startup ecosystem. Over to you, MSR.
During the course of today, Nidhi leads our marketing. So Nidhi, Shankar, Mandar, and of course Priyanka and so many other people involved. So first of all, thank you for being here. And so let me start with some background. Right? And I have my good friend Samir here, so he'll relate to this. Samir, you are not allowed to correct my numbers. Okay, we'll start with that. Okay. So when you look at the MSME landscape in India, right? According to ministry data, which sadly is quite dated, according to 2019 data, we had 63 million entrepreneurs in India. Right? Out of the 63 million MSMEs, approximately between 13 million to 15 million are women-led. Okay? So that's one side of the story. So about 20% give or take. Now, while that's not good, what is actually worse is the statistic which follows. The number of jobs which are being created by these between 13 to 15 million enterprises is approximately between 23 to 27 million are employed. So which means, obviously it tells you that many of these enterprises are single woman owned. Right? So they're not creating enough jobs. Now we do, again, if you look at while our overall numbers, right, the gender ratio and all of that, then those numbers are not reflective of the actual gender ratio. The number should be much higher. And I think what we should all be collectively doing is to try and find ways and means to get the ecosystem to work together, to build something where potentially we can create 40 million enterprises in India, right, in the next 7, 8, 9 years till the end of the decade, and potentially create about 150 to 170 million jobs. Right? So this requires a profound transformation, and if this happens, obviously all kinds of empowerment, personal, economic, social, and all of that will happen. And today I think is one of the, we thought we should do this because this is an opportunity for us to reflect, to think, and to come up with ideas on how we can accelerate this whole transformation piece, right? So that's the background. We have a busy schedule, so without further ado, I'll quickly introduce all the keynote speakers here. So first up, we have a dynamic leader who's been involved in capacity building and skill development initiatives for over the last 2 decades. We have with us remotely, she's coming, she's unwell. So we have Dr. Glory Swarupa, who's Director General at the National Institute for Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises. So she'll come in remote. I think you can probably be able to see her now. Next up, we have one of Hyderabad's best and most famous, right? So we have Anu Acharya. So Anu, if you're here, can you please stand up? So Anu is you would have, all of you who have traveled to any airport, particularly Hyderabad airport, would have seen what Anu is doing. So the Map My Genome, right, and the RT-PCR test, right, is credit to Anu. So Anu has first built a company called Ocmimum Biosolutions. I hope I got the pronunciation right. And now she's at the forefront of genomics. So she's truly one of our deep tech entrepreneurs. Thank you, Anu, for being here. We have a representative from the La Trobe University, Australia. So at T-Hub, one of the things we also do is to partner with other incubators and accelerators across the globe. So it's my pleasure to introduce to you Sersala Tanescu, who is Director of La Trobe University, Australia. And she's again going to be joining us. She's here remotely. And
hi everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. And
Yeah,
last but not least, we have one of our very own. I have Dr. Shanta Totham. Dr. Shanta, if you can come up to the stage, please. Shanta is she is, as the name suggests, a PhD in analog design, right? PhD in analog design, then came back. The call of Telangana became too strong, so she came back here, and she was part of T-Hub. So she built all our corporate engagement programs at T-Hub, and she's the first innovation officer of Telangana. So we are the first, Women Innovation Program. Yeah. So she's referred to as the CIO. And the work she's doing is today about social impact, right? So we have 33 districts in Telangana. So her role is obviously to maximize impact of innovation and democratize entrepreneurship. So we have a fabulous panel, and look forward to their keynotes and the learnings and insight we hope to get from them. Thank you, Priyanka.
Congratulations to all the successful and great women who are participating in this event today. Of course, in hybrid mode, online and offline. I think we have some foreign friends also. First of all, I would like to salute the women who sacrificed their lives during this COVID time, who are in healthcare and other services to save all of us. And I also pay the tributes to the women who lost their lives and who could not see this 2022 Women's Day celebration. As we all know, according to United Nations, the theme for 2022 is gender equality. Today for a sustainable tomorrow. So it is all about recognizing the contribution of women and girls all over the world who are leading the change on climate change adaptation, migration, and response to build a more sustainable future for all. So when we talk about equality, I want to highlight two things related to MSME sector, because we are working for MSME sector and a nation building process, and we are offering our services. Nearly 2.4 billion women globally don't have the same economic rights as men. And around, again, 2.4 billion women of working age are not afforded equal economic opportunity, and 178 countries maintain legal barriers that prevent their full economic participation, according to the World Bank's Women, Business and Law 2022 report. Despite pandemic, 23 countries improved laws to advance women's economic inclusion in 2021. But still, 86 countries, women face some of the job restrictions, and 95 countries do not guarantee equal pay for equal work. And when we look at Indian scenario, so out of 67 million micro, small, medium enterprises, women run about 8 million only. So women run less than 13% of India's small businesses, and women running their own businesses face multiple difficulties. The biggest of these is gender bias in access to finance. Their loan applications are more likely to be delayed or rejected. And studies show that gender bias, restriction on mobility, and social norms are the other hindrances for women to show their full potential. And women business owners could potentially create 150 to 170 million jobs in India by 2030. So this is the prediction, and India also ranks 70th among 77 countries covered in the Female Entrepreneurship Index as per IWWAGE report. And the recently released policy, industrial policy for 2025, does not have much prominence and scope for development of women entrepreneurship. Most of the women are coming out with startups, especially in the service sector and IT related services during pandemic. That doesn't need much land and great resources, but they need hand-holding and mentoring services. So there is also a need for incubation centers with the plug-and-play infrastructure facilities. I think T-Hub and V-Hub, they're already doing this. And at National Institution also, we have set up Startup Incubation Center. And we have Livelihood Business Incubation Center. And we are trying to promote women entrepreneurship. The Finance Ministry recently set a target, very high ambitious target, for making India $5 trillion economy. And the then Honorable MSME Minister has made a promise that MSMEs would contribute 3 trillion in achieving this goal. So how do we achieve this goal? So that's what we were also wondering after so many difficulties, crisis time, and lot of distress. And the statistics show that 62% of the MSMEs are almost in the verge of closure, or they have scaled down their operations. And 20% are just thinking whether to go ahead with this MSME operations or not. So as a national institution, taking the responsibility of women participation in MSME sector, so we have given a call to double the women entrepreneurs in the country. So that is our vision for coming 5 years, coming 3 years. By 2025, we want to see that at least the 13% becomes 25%. So to this effect, we have given a proposal to the ministry, and ministry is considering positively. We'll take up a study first. So what are all the bottlenecks, are the gaps, are the difficulties so women are facing, and so how do we go about this? So this is the direction we are working. And I personally feel that so when women come together, lone fight is too difficult. And after COVID, the situation is something altogether different. So as a association, it is a great strength for them to perform better. That we have already witnessed in Telugu states like Ali performing very better, and Kowe doing even in rural districts and other states of the country, much better activities. So we are also working very seriously to establish one women industry association in at least one state. Of course, Karnataka we have, Gujarat we have, but many other states we don't have industry association owned by women, operated by women, and implemented by women. So that is what we have been working, and we have been conducting several capacity building programs, awareness programs, research, consultancy exclusively for women. I'm very happy to share that very recently we have trained 150 women in Jammu and Kashmir who are very good at making some artifacts and handicrafts, which can be sent to different parts of the globe. So we empowered them on online platform. So how do they market their products? This program was supported by Governor House and Jammu Kashmir Trade Promotion Organization. The online sessions and mentoring part is completed. I think mostly after this Women's Day. So all this group of women, they are going to place their products through Amazon to different parts of the country, different parts of the world. So starting from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, very recently even we have conducted a program for the fisher communities, SC community in the Kanyakumari on entrepreneurship development program. Not only Kanyakumari, various other states also we have conducted. And at present in our campus, we are conducting exclusive program sponsored by Ministry of MSME on fashion technology, baking technology, beauty and wellness, IT and IT enabled services. These programs are NSQF aligned, and the certificate is valid throughout the country. If they want to take up self-employment opportunity, further we help them with mentoring and hand-holding services, and we also see that they start some micro enterprise activity after this program. If they want to go for wage employment, we are organizing many job fairs and job mailers wherein we bring the firms so where they can get a reasonable wage employment opportunity. So this is what we have been doing from National Institute for MSME. So my suggestion to all the participants are the eminent speakers and guests here. So please make note of these activities. You can spread this message across among your beneficiaries and stakeholders, friends and family members and professional contacts. They can come and register through online or any other social media platform, or physically they can visit the institute, and they can make a benefit out of all the programs what we are doing, or all the facilities what we have in our campus. We have entrepreneurship development cell, and we also have a GST cell, livelihood business incubation, and intellectual property facilitation center. So through all these centers of excellence and school of eminence, we are spreading the culture of entrepreneurship among the entrepreneurs and would-be entrepreneurs also, and official community, and we are trying to promote the growth of MSMEs so that the ranking in the global index of India will improve, and we all reap the benefits. And my best wishes to all the women on this occasion. And I go by a call: when a man can do, a woman always can do, and when one woman can do, all women can do, and women can do better than men, and they can perform better. That is the strength of any woman. So as a woman, I always feel proud, and there is nothing that women can't do. Of course, with the best wishes and cooperation from all our gentlemen. Yeah. So I once again appreciate the initiative of T-Hub, and we are also very keen to collaborate with the T-Hub and V-Hub, and take the culture of this entrepreneurship and skill development forward, and to empower the women. So thanks for this opportunity. Thanks to all of you. My best wishes.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, and congratulations. Now I would like to call Anu Acharya ma'am to speak few words.
The problem is real, and the problem is real because I think if we did have an equal world, we would have a men's day and a women's day, but we only have a women's day, And I think that's basically a start of a problem which I think we should all realize, that we are all called women entrepreneurs, but the men are never called men entrepreneurs. That's a big problem that we have. The other thing I think I wanted to also bring about is that the most recent report that I read on women is not at all making me feel that these Women's Days and other things are helping that much. And the reason I'm saying that is that it says that only 30% of the women who actually can be qualified to actually do something in the workforce are actually part of it. And of that, only 24% of the graduates are actually in the workforce and 38% of the postgraduates. In the last 2 years, our numbers have become even worse, right? It basically shows that there was almost a 10% drop in the number of women in the workforce during COVID. So whatever we are doing, we are not doing right. And I think part of it could be that we all have to realize that we are being completely, only, I think some of these things need to be done not once or twice, but to see that this will actually have a good economic benefit to the rest of the country. So anyway, I won't talk too much about all the issues, but one of the things I think is that when we do want to find out what the problems are and how do we solve it, I think there are multiple different issues. And part of it is conditioning, part of it is what we do in terms of helping other people, how do we make sure that the funding and other things that are happening, which is less than 2% for women, how do we increase that? And I think it's not that people are not competent, it's not that women are not competent, or not that we are not able to do certain things, but I think there are many things that we can do to help each other out. And I think part of that could be to creating the right kind of networks, creating the right kind of things that allow us to be able to leverage upon our strengths and then build upon it, rather than trying to do things on our own every single time and getting that done. So I think without having to go through too much about this, but I thought that I know that it's a great thing, we all talk about all our strengths, but I think it is also important to say that there are certain things that we have never been doing right, and therefore we should point it out. So these are of course our stereotype, and I think I always point out the woman entrepreneur because I think it's important to get it in people's head that we are actually, that our biases and all show up in some of the words that we speak. There are cultural barriers of course, and there is a lot of patronizing behavior. I want to see if anybody over here disagrees. Nobody disagrees. And there is, of course, in terms of, if you look at the overall quality of education, some of the women are not getting the same, so the level playing field is not the same as well. And the choices that we make. So I think in many cases, it's not that they are not able to do certain things, but the fact that if you are saying 24% of the women are actually in the workforce, it's not that all of them are forced to not do it, many of them are choices that they make. So I think it's a combination of the two things and multiple other factors that get us to where we are. So I think mentorship really helps. I think it's important that when I look upon some of the other women, I think it helps. It helped me through my journey. And it's not that mentorship has to be only women. You'll find a lot of male mentors. I have a lot of male mentors. So it's not that you only look upon just women or men look upon just men. So I think it has to be without thinking about gender in the first place. And I think one of the things that I like about the new generation that's coming up, my children and all of the others, is the fact that they keep trying to tell me that why are you guys all so obsessed about gender, right? And I think that gives me hope, that I think the next generation is becoming a lot more sensitized towards coming to a more genderless sort of a world. And I hope that will actually carry through. So I think there are many different things, but I also thought that maybe it's important that very recently I was part of a list of 75 women in STEAM, right? Now one of the things that I found very interesting was that except for 2 people, I did not know anyone in those 75. And I thought that this is outstanding, right? Why did we do these things before? Because otherwise you keep hearing the same people over and over again, and we think there aren't enough women out there. But you go and look at that list, amazing women that have done outstanding work in science, outstanding work in the areas that they have chosen in. And I thought that was a brilliant way of being able to showcase and bring forth all these women that even I had not been exposed to. So I can only imagine what a fresh graduate who's in college is going to be able to do that. So anyway, that is that. So I want to just say one small thing, and then I thought I'd maybe give you a peek into a little bit of the future without having to only be all only about the women's day thing. So Marie Curie, of course, is one scientist that everybody knows who is a woman. There are many others, like I mentioned. I think all of you should go and check out these 75 women that the Office of the Principal Scientific Advisor came out. But what she said was, nothing in life is to be feared. It is only to be understood, and now is the time to understand so that we may fear less. Right? And I think this is a very profound quote, and it's a great way for us to be able to say that what is it that we are worried about, why is it that we are not able to move forward. So I think with that, I thought it's important that I'll at least give you a little glimpse into the future, at least the area that I'm in. So, how many of you have seen Gattaca? 2, 3. So Gattaca is a movie which was made in 1997. I think it was even earlier. And in that they said a single drop of blood, a single drop of saliva will decide who we are, what we can be, and all of that. At that point of time, the Human Genome Project was not even completed. But what was interesting is the people who can think are the people who can imagine, are the people who will actually create. And I think that's why it's important for us to go back and see when did we first think of an idea, because from an idea to finally when it comes into fruition is a long journey. And I think therefore it's important that whether it is arts, whether it's somebody who's thinking about it from science, whether it's somebody who's thinking about it from multiple angles, is all coming together to be able to create something that will ultimately become a reality. So if you think now, if you think maybe 5-10 years to the future, what we will see is that in 2030 maybe we'll see designer babies, right? And I'm not joking like a Louis Vuitton baby. But I think from a genetic point of view, some part of it is already happening, right? You're seeing that you can select, if you're doing an IVF for instance, you can already start selecting what kind of an embryo is the right kind of embryo to be able to go to the next stage. And again, these are just things that are possibilities. I'm not saying anything is, some of it is sort of partially happening, but eventually, I think the technology is out there. The second is genome editing. Everybody heard about CRISPR. We know the technology is there. We know it's been used in diagnostics, in many other areas. It's not legal to use it in an embryo to be able to transfer it to the next generation. But it's a technology that's out there that how we use it, either in good or bad, is up to us to decide. And the third, I think, which is going to be interesting is for a lot of you who are in the healthcare or even in many of the other spaces, what will be interesting is that you will also start seeing a connection of big data, the wearables, the insidables, or anything else that you're thinking about, to put all of that together and to be able to help us not just in health but in many other areas as well. So everything is ultimately will be data driven, and to be able to get to where we are, whether it is genomes or anywhere else. And this is one of my favorite quotes from many years ago. It's Newton's. It says, "If I've seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants." Right? So all the knowledge that we have today has been created because there were many thousands of other people who actually did that for us, and that's how we progress. And I think it's the same thing, whether it is about telling each one of us how do we progress, it's because we are standing on the works of somebody else who has done something for us. And therefore, it is also very important for us to do the same thing or better than what we did for us. So there are many, many things happening, but I just maybe, I know I'm running out of time, so I just maybe acquaint you with the little things of what is possible today. And what is possible today is that when you look at your genomes, what you can find out is already, can you find out the root cause of a particular problem, right? have a particular disease, you're trying to find out why is this happening, and you're not able to find out by traditional, conventional means. So that would be one area. If you want to find out which genetic mutation has caused a specific problem. So that could be one. The second thing, which is the very fundamental thing that all of us ask, is who am I? And where did I come from, right? So you want to find out where you came from. And the most interesting place to find it out is through a little drop of blood or saliva, because that gives you insights into your ethnicity and putting all that information together. So you can trace your ancestry, you can find out if you are 100% Rajasthani or you're actually a mix of a little bit of Pakistan, a little bit of Central Asia, a little bit of Maharashtra and so on. So that is, I think, exciting. And the third interesting thing is, what you can find out is that why is it some people look the way they look? Right? Why is it some people have curly hair? Why is it some people do very well with mistakes and learn? Why is it some people are resilient? Why is it some people run a marathon, some people can not run a marathon like me? Why is it some people can do a sprint race very fast? So I think these are a lot of interesting questions, things that you can see, things that you can visualize, that you can also find answers to in your genomes. And the other thing that you can find out is, you have found that some people react well to a particular medicine, the others don't. So for every common medicine, there is a place where some of the, maybe 30%, sometimes up to 70%, where you will not be able to have the right medication for that person based on that genetic makeup. So I think those are just some of the kinds of things you can already do today. And then I mentioned some of the things that you can do in the future. But what is exciting is, if what you can do today can help you prevent, I think we'll be able to prevent about 60% of the lifestyle diseases that we have. So with that, I wanted to say thank you very much.
Request you to speak few words.
Yes, sorry, I didn't hear your presentation. That was my problem. Hello, everyone, and hello, wonderful India. And thank you so much for inviting me to speak today. And I truly hope I will be soon at T-Hub. And we have a project, so I truly hope I'll be soon at T-Hub and I'll be among you. So we can have a chat face-to-face, which would be wonderful. Thank you so much, Priyanka, for inviting me. So I am Shanta Totham. I work at Latro, and I'm Director of Innovation and Entrepreneurship over here. Just want to talk to you about, about women entrepreneurship today, and share a few words which are drawn from my experience. So since 2017, I work in enhancing startups. I worked before in several countries, and I actually enhanced around something like 280 startups, and 40% of the startups were women, which for an accelerator which is not woman preferential, it's actually a very good ratio. So I will just share a little bit what I know around women entrepreneurship and what drives women to be entrepreneur. First of all the nice words that the two ladies that talked, Anu and Glory, before me, it's true. So I have done some studies about women entrepreneurship before coming to Australia. And I had observed a lot during my experience in Australia. Sorry. What I want to share to you today is, first of all, I have spoken with some investors. And right now, I am sure that there are some barriers in investment. But talking about US and talking about Europe, investors, even men, prefer to invest in women startups right now. And the reason is because they are more not risk averse. They drive better their money. So in respect with money management, women are considered for investors to be better. They also need less investment to do the same thing as men would ask for. So these are interesting facts that have been told when I was talking to some of the investors that are in our panel and our coaches. Something else I would say is there is a specificity in women entrepreneurship, and if I would have to cite the specificity which is the most important, I would say networking. We are extremely relationship driven. So that's why creating networks, women will take more profit out of a network, women entrepreneur, as men do. They interact more, they help each other, they share way more. So having mentorship, having networks of mentors, having networks of women managers who actually open market to other women managers. It's something which is extremely profitable for women entrepreneurs, and that helps them a lot. In particular opening markets. So do not hesitate to include in your network also not only mentors, but also women managers that want to help women entrepreneurs succeed, and that actually supports the go-to-market very, very well. I had witnessed lots of these successful mentorship and market or mentorship for women entrepreneurs work, and they work very, very well because of the network, because of the share, and because of the understanding to each other. So this I think it's the main characteristic of women entrepreneurship. Another one is in us ourselves. We do not trust ourselves enough, and that's where the mindset comes, that's where the culture comes, that's where I think there is some work to be done in respect with the entrepreneurship development, and that's where maybe the women do not make the step to go into entrepreneurship like men. So this dual thing, which on one side we are managing better everything which finance, everything which is around costs effective and so on, and on the other side we have less confidence in ourselves, which makes us do not dare to make the next step. And entrepreneurship, it's a risky world, so sometimes that can be a barrier for women to go forward, and that's where having a network which is female entrepreneurship oriented, it's extremely helpful. So this is one of I think the main hurdle for me that I observed into women entrepreneurship. Of course, there are particular I would say particular areas where even in United States I actually went to a conference at MIT in Boston, and even there was a girl who actually had to step out of a startup so the investment could have been made, because it was a particularly it was in electric energy, and venture capital over there, you could see there was no trust in respect with the startup because she was driven by a woman. So unfortunately, sad stories like this exist. And they are particular fields which is extremely difficult, even in countries like US or Europe or others, for a woman to actually prevail and get her startup on track. And it's not because they're not capable, it's because lack of trust. The lack of trust you see sometimes in management in big corporates, for women. So I think that this is the main thing I wanted to communicate to you now. Around some nice stories, I have a couple of women entrepreneurs who actually worked a lot, and Priyanka can tell in Global Markets Accelerator program that they drive their own startup and they drive it very well, in particular in high tech. And I'm thinking Get Ready Teacher, I'm thinking Get Renee, I'm thinking at others who actually are developing their entrepreneurial activity, and they are successful in developing it. One of the things I think it's extremely interesting to see is how, if you are a woman, how do you become an entrepreneur? What do you need to do to become a successful entrepreneur? I would say, first of all, take a program where you have parity in coaching. So where you have coaches as well, women as male, because you will be in a world which barely has a parity. So you will need to know how to, you need to understand the rules of this world. So then you would have to have a panel of coaches as large as possible. Secondly, women networks are extremely profitable for women entrepreneurs, and extremely helpful for women entrepreneurs, because they can actually share and they can rely and they need this sharing on. Last but not least, I do believe we have a choice. And as Anu said, yes, genetics is important. And I think that our difference makes us stronger. Our differences make us stronger, but we always have a choice. We always can, even if we're not born to be entrepreneurs, because entrepreneur happens naturally, 5% in the world. So some people are really born to be entrepreneur. I don't know if it's genetic, if it's a culture, if it's what it is, and would explain it better than I do. But I think that the most important is if we have a choice. So entrepreneurship can be taught, entrepreneurship can be tried, and you can actually become an entrepreneur even if genetically you don't have this in your blood.
Vision and showing how women network is very important, right? Thank you. Now I request Shanta to give the closing remarks and end the session.
Good afternoon, everyone. Those were really good speeches, and especially every March 8th plus or minus 4 days, I have mixed feelings. Literally, plus or minus 4 days. Because 12th March, every year I grow 1 year older. Celebrate my birthday, wiser I'm guessing. And before 4 days, the whole hubbub on March, the International Women's Day celebration start, and everybody's talking about breaking the ceiling. And how would you overcome the gender biases? I'll grow more apprehension. Is it really happening, or is it we are overlooking, or what is happening? And year on year we are celebrating and we are doing these events. But what is the impact being created? I just wanted to understand. If anyone has any numbers, while we are doing this, the celebrations every year, any numbers which are positively making impact on women, please do holler at me. Please let me know, because I wanted to see whether we are going in the right direction. I never ever think myself, I put myself into that special reservation that I'm a woman. That never comes to my head. That's the first thing I strike off my head. So that I keep telling everyone also, don't put yourself, don't give that extra reservation for yourself if you want to survive in this very brutal world. And male dominant for sure, right? We'll do that. So, but it's there, it's an undercurrent. we have explicitly an incubation center for women entrepreneurs. We are also thinking to come up with an incubator explicitly for kids and youth. So no more like this, that feeling. I know how you feel about it. So I keep telling we do have societal and institutional barriers, but women, we have an extra thing called internal barriers that we kind of grow on every day, based on our activities, we kind of come up with extra set of barriers that we create internally, and we need some internal engineering. That's what I keep telling. Sadhguru talks about inner engineering, but I talk about internal engineering always, where you think of yourself, how would you kind of have a vision for yourself, and in order to reach that vision, come up with some goals, achieve those goals, feel positive about it, and maybe you should feel blessed that you are a woman and you are getting extra privilege, but at the same time be cognizant of what are the achievements you want to kind of back for yourself and feel better for yourself. It's a blessing, it's a good life that we have in the last 2 years. Every day I keep telling everyone that I'm surviving one day at a time. It's very, very, very the need of the hour for us to get going. And most of us are talking about anchors. Yes, we need an anchor in our life. Could be a mom, family member, or a friend, or a mentor, from the industry, whoever it is. But again, having a mentor is good, but you don't need to run to your mentor for everything, right? So that again, it's not putting you in the right shape and right position for yourself. I feel proud about myself for one thing which I did. I'm guessing I took a best decision. I did not tell my parents and my friends and my family that I'm moving back to India. That decision I took by myself, and I owned it. And whatever the consequences, good, bad, ugly, I'm responsible, and I'm really happy about it. Had I been ran pillar to post about my decision, maybe I wouldn't have made it for sure here, because everybody gives advice based on their own mindset, right? So it's your responsibility whether you want to run to your mentor, on a daily basis. Of course, if you're running if you're an entrepreneur and you have a business and you have a business issue, definitely take an advice. Nobody will tell you not to reach out to your mentors, because their subject matter expertise will definitely help you to go through that situation. So accepting the change also, I keep telling, this new generation is a little bit fragile. I'm a little bit worried about them, at least for us, with whatever the resources we have, we built ourselves. Now wherever we are, we understand the resources, the scarcity, what we had, the value, and how we kind of imbibe all those values inside us. But this generation, I'm a little bit skeptical, and the generation mindset is changing every 2 years. So they are very fragile, although they have a lot of resources at their expense. So I don't want to take much of time further here. We are running short of time for sure. But I corrected Mr. saying women. Again, I did not use a reservation here. Prior, he said first innovation officer. I said first women innovation officer, because I had 2 male innovation officers before me. So I'm not the first innovation officer recruited by government of Telangana. Women innovation officer, yes, sure. That's the correction. No reservation used again there. Even in the innovation space, we do work with a lot of innovators. In that space too, I'm not seeing a lot of women innovators. Although our moms, we have a lot of jugaad innovation happening, on ground on a daily basis, but I'm not seeing a lot of women innovators. So our focus is how would we sensitize women on innovation, how can they innovate, how can they scale up their businesses. Very recently, last year, when I was working as an OSD for textiles and handicrafts, I met a lot of wonderful women, very enthusiastic women, self-help group, all the groups. It was overwhelming for me because, the way the whole initiative kind of picked up, and how every woman is so interested in building up a cottage industry and kind of carving a niche for themselves. This is all in tier 2 and tier 6 cities where I have interacted with, and before that, prior to that, I was all interacting with all the women, tech-savvy women in Hyderabad. But when I went on ground, I did see that culture, the mindset shift. So probably, whatever we are doing, sitting in these, AC halls and tier 1 cities, the impact is being created in these tier 2 and tier 3 cities for sure, but we have to convert that. We have to ensure whatever the impact is being created comes into the members. The self-help group initiative, everybody wants to do something, but there are no resources for them to kind of scale up their businesses. So I'm sure Deepti is in the room, and she's also thinking about like how would she, take the women VHOP concept to the tier 2 and tier 3 cities and help these all women from tribal settings, tier 2, tier 3 cities. So we'll see. I just wanted to see a big spike in successful, the women who are being successful in whatever endeavor they are picking up. And I always say, like, one has to, celebrate the successes, but at the same time, transcending the failures is the key. You cannot hold on to the failures. Please, 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 for your own self, use your own wisdom, self-wisdom, and grow and stay happy. At the end of the day, staying happy. The women happy at home, the whole society and the whole, the universe is happy. That's what I keep telling you. It's just like the same thing, like women being educated, helps the society. Women at home makes everything change. Lead a good, healthy life. Health is also very important. And all the best to all of you guys. But next March 8th, again, plus or minus 4 days, I don't want to go through that crisis again. But I wanted to see more of women coming forward and establishing themselves and carving a niche for themselves. And hope we don't get to talk about the gender biases, breaking the ceilings. We will definitely hold each other's back. One other important thing I want to mention here is day before yesterday, Saturday, I was in Delhi. I was on the jury panel for Niti Ayog's Women Transforming India Awards. I heard, beautiful business ideas. Like women, most of them are into NGOs. Some of them are into health tech, IT, and fintech stuff. But there was this lady, phenomenal lady, who is doing manufacturing for armed forces, and all of her employees are women. And she is so gung-ho about it, and she so wanted to do, kind of scale up her business. I felt really, really, really proud about it. Like, one such woman is really needed for us, right? Not that herd mentality when every one of us is going in, like, IT sector, working from home or doing something. But she has her mind in the right place, and she wanted to scale up. I said, like, happy to kind of support such kind of women. So we are, marching forward. Let's keep up this energy. And I read on Twitter, everybody, a woman somewhere from somewhere, I don't remember the location. She tweeted, everybody is talking about empowering women. What are we doing to men to face this women and empowered women? So that's a good question. I feel like, yeah, right. What are we doing with the men, to kind of figure it out. Yeah, they figured it out. But I found I went to the comments and I found one really interesting response. Someone like MSR wrote that, I guess, saying, men are born ready. So having said that, thank you so much for this opportunity. Women, don't feel that we are called to do only certain things. We are called to do everything, honestly. You have that capability. All the best to you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Shanta. Now I would like to invite Y. Chinnamma, Vice Chairman of Villa Mary Degree College for Women. No, our first woman CIO is we need to appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, MSR. Thank you, all the keynote speakers. Thank you, Sharsila, for joining online. Thank you, Swarupa ma'am, for joining online. Women in business are ending the stereotypes and making the way to success. The transformation of power and change in the landscape of entrepreneurship is causing disruption for inclusive growth. On that note, I would now like to open the floor to the moderator of this session, to Deepti Rawala, founding CEO of VHOP, India's first and only physical incubator by the government of Telangana for women entrepreneurship. She is one of the influential, inspiring intellects of ecosystem and an enthusiastic woman advocating and empowering women entrepreneurs all over the ecosystem.
We have 40 minutes and 7 people to speak. So, no, I'm not going to accept that. We heard the session before, it was not all women. So let's get away from that conversation now. Yeah, it's about 7 speakers who have a lot to share. So a couple of quick pointers to the panelists. The goal is to make sure that, you know, whatever questions we are going to be talking about, we spark a thought. We spark a conversation which can be taken after the panel as well. So request you guys to keep it a little bit short, 1.5 to 2 minutes, so that we can touch upon a lot of topics. And second thing is, I'm not the greatest moderator. I'd like for the audience to pitch in as well, because we have this brilliant group of ladies here who have done so much in so many diverse fields. So while I may be asking questions, it's my own skewed opinion, right? Because I come from a different perspective. I would like for you guys to participate as also. So we will have about 4 to 5 questions from you. That means only 3 questions from me. All right? The reason I say only 3 from me is because I have a lot of questions, but I don't want to ask all of them now. They won't invite me back next year. So I'm keeping them for like quota system for next year and the year onwards. Anyway, to start out with, it's a general question, ladies. So I know Rashida, Tanuja, all of you are doing some kritika. Everybody is doing some brilliant work in what you're doing, and especially congratulations. I'm so surprised I didn't meet you before. So Jugnu, Sridevi, everybody is like, the system in Hyderabad is brilliant, right? Everybody knows it also. So first question I have for all of you is that when will we stop this conversation around women entrepreneurs and just talk about entrepreneurship and innovation? Can we start with that? Not women entrepreneurs, just entrepreneurs. And that seriousness has to be both sides. So if I may start with you, how do we get started across the country? A national perspective from you.
So according to me, I think it's already overrated, and as fellow panelists spoke about, it's not a very big number that we are seeing in terms of women entrepreneurs. It's 45% of the enterprises which has already seen women directors, and it's not a very small number. I mean, I don't understand why we are only talking about 2 or 3% of women-led enterprises when we have 45% of the enterprises with one women director. And with the changing landscape, these sectors are also changing in terms of the women that are picking up these days. It is not only related to some food processing or agri-related enterprises where the women are contributing. It is also, they're also equally contributing to the clean tech sector, which is one of the emerging sectors that we're seeing in terms of women entrepreneurship, including the fintech sector and the business of oil services, etc. I'm sure the future is pretty near where we are only going to talk about entrepreneurship and not women entrepreneurs, which is why the Startup India initiative is called Women. It's a sector agnostic and gender agnostic initiative that Government of India is constantly focusing on. Thank you.
Rashida ji.
Good afternoon. Specific I think we can do a better job than that. This is for ourselves that we are doing. And to the point that is it women entrepreneur or men entrepreneur? It's basically a very individual journey. If I as a person feel I am a woman entrepreneur, the lens through which I look at things becomes that way. Or if I say I'm a human being and that's why I'm doing entrepreneurship, changes. I don't see a roadblock if I don't want to see. So we were talking about breaking the biases. It's the first bias which has to change inside that I am a human being, I'm an entrepreneur on a journey to do something. Like as a corporate employee, it's an employee, it's not a women employee or a male employee, right? So it starts with me internalizing it, saying I'm a human being going for a work, trying to achieve something. And I think from there onwards it becomes a very individual journey. You will have roadblocks as an employee for a man and as a woman as well. So for a minute, I think we will try bring on those biases as we go in the discussion. But my humble submission is keep looking at the situation from both the lenses and you will see where you're operating from. Long answer that.
For the benefit of those who don't know, I actually had an initiative. It's only for women. So I wanted to ask that question, but I wanted to check out it. Not at all. I'm very excited by it because I think I'm completely with Rashida as well, because I think over time she also gender this, so yeah, I'm just asking this question so that we can make people going from saying empowerment, because a lot of times when we talk about entrepreneurship among women, first thing, sorry I missed out, is that a lot of times when people come to Hub, they say they want to give back. When they come to Hub, they say they want to go forward. And I've been in both conversations, like why this bias? And why is it that giving back, right? So initially I used to be like super polite and say absolutely, so amazing. Now I just say that if you want to go back, here are your NGOs you can work with. But if you want to pay back or pay it forward, we are always here. So that is something that we are working on.
So one of the things that Anu said in the panel before and what you just said, Tanuja, and many people have said, reminded me of an incident in 2003. I attended a South Asian women's leadership meeting in US. I used to be in Boston for many years. And everybody got a t-shirt, which is very common. And along with that was a little logo or a motto, which was pinned onto it. I still have that. It said, the only one who can stop you is you. So I think the first change that everybody's talked about, this is nothing new I'm saying, is definitely within us. The more we talked about us as entrepreneurs and not as women entrepreneurs, the more that perception will change. The second thing that resonated also with what Anu said earlier, the more we identify women who are doing regularly the kind of stuff that we think is so amazing, the more common it becomes. So if SEBI has named a woman as the head, wow. If SBI can be run by a woman, wow. The more this happens, the more we will stop saying wow and think, yeah, this is rather common, isn't it? So during the Me Too movement, so I come from a science background, so I'll give you an example of science. During the Me Too movement about 7 years ago, there was a conference to be held where typically, I go to science conferences and I would say on an average, you would see about 75 to 80% of the speakers and panelists are men. And I'm being generous. If you see about 20% women, that's a good conference. So somehow during the Me Too movement, this European conference, they decided that they will look for female speakers. And they were amazed in how many good speakers they could find. They just never think about them because on an average, so-and-so has published papers, they have spoken in the last 5 meetings, so automatically they are invited. They held a pretty much all women meeting where men were maybe 15 to 20%. And many of them commented how many good women scientists were there that people never looked for. So I think it's our responsibility to go find women who are doing very good work in whichever area. I do not discriminate between for-profit, not-for-profit, non-profit. It's a continuum. We live in a civil society, we need all of them. But the more we find such people and they become mainstream, the less we'll need to have days like this. So let's go find them.
Having their sharing their thoughts. I don't know what else to say. I have a little different take on things. Is every day is a Women's Day, agreed. But we do need role models. We do need to listen to our own voices sometimes, and we celebrate this Women's Day for that. I look at it that way. We are privileged. Every woman in this room is privileged if they are able to take out time, sit here, but not all the women in the world are. I'm a single sister among 4 brothers. I'm the only woman in Indo-American Chamber of Commerce Executive Board for the last 3 years still. I'm really waiting to see another woman on the board. I'm the only woman on IASA's Hyderabad Chapter Executive Committee still for the last 2 years. I'm waiting and longing to see one more woman actually come but I'm not heading the board. I don't think I'll ever will. That is the competition. That is the way our competencies are sometimes undermined. Even today, I came and I was standing there, though there was a seat in the front. We still hesitate to take the front seat. Somebody had to give that nudge. I, after 24 years of WorkX, an army man's daughter, privileged person who has had two and a half post-graduations, still I'm feeling like that. There are many more women who need that little nudge. This Women's Day is just an opportunity to give that little nudge, to give some good stories, to say some good stories, to celebrate, to cheer, to have our, her moment, or to say a girl moment. I look at it that way. Thank you.
You come with inherent strengths and weaknesses, right? Of course, as women and men have their own strengths as a cluster, if you may call it, their own strengths and weaknesses, and recognizing inherently every individual, especially all of us sitting here in this room, recognizing what are the strengths we have, what are the weaknesses we have, who are the people that we can collaborate with, right? So let's look at identifying what are the things what I'm missing out on, what are the things that I need to grow, what are my objectives, what do I need to do to achieve those objectives, and who are the people or the companies or the mentors who could help me achieve that, right? The second thing I'd like to talk about is that, competition per se. Yeah. When we talk about competition as entrepreneurs, we start looking at immediately at companies. Yeah, this company, or you doing better than this, or going ahead than this, achieving much more than this. I think one thing inherently we as men and women entrepreneurs need to start doing is competing with our own selves, right? Defining our own core values, objectives, like I said, what is it that we want to do and creating enough value in that, so that we are able to kind of take that and stem it forward by meaningful collaborations. Thirdly, what I'd like to talk about is relationships. And I think especially as women, I think we are inherently born to bond. Yeah, we keep things together. There was a little thing which I read somewhere which said that mothers are like buttons, they keep things together, but that goes for all women, I think. And so irrespective of whether it's home or a company or our customers, they're all relationships eventually that we are building, right? And I think those are the inherent strengths that we have. Let's kind of value that. Let's start looking at, taking that step forward. Let's stop being victimized. Let's stop being victimized our own selves, by belittling ourselves and saying we need to get empowered. I think the very fact that we think that we need to get empowered is, we need to drop that for sure. Yeah, we have been born empowered. That goes for all individuals per se. But yes, of course, women have their own inherent strengths. I'm sure all of us would agree on that.
Thank you so much, Supriya. So now taking up on that point, we start with the next question. So we are in an innovative afternoon, right? So one of the biggest things that we often hear is that, there's something that we hear a lot, we don't have funds. So I'm going to ask all of you, I have a different opinion about funds and startups, but I'd like to know from each of you on what is it that entrepreneur, given that we are on a women's platform, a woman entrepreneur needs to think about before she actually gets to funds, because we know for a fact that funds is not the only thing that is stopping somebody. So we'll start with you. What are the 3 things they need to actually think about or have in place before you say that this is the reason, that funds is the only reason I don't have something happen?
That you have seen the product or service that you are willing to develop for the country.
rejections very well. We are not taught to be shameless, we are not taught to ask. Yeah? And we don't know how to take a no. So my number of times I'm just going and asking itself is reduced. How am I going to get the funding? So it's an inherent internal thing. Women are different breed, they manage it very differently. We are very, very conscious. I'm not saying it's ego. It's just that we don't know. We are not taught as a skill as we are growing up. So funding has those two components. You need to again take off your barrier of women and say, I'm just doing a job, I'm going and getting something. Here's a focus when you're going for this one.
So all what they have said is true. I deliberately thought I'll take a slightly different take on this question because we are actually in the process of seeking funds more for growth and scale up. So I'll go past the initial part and I'll talk about funding and issues for funding at the growth and the scale up part. So when you're going for your second round or your third round after your seed funding is done, you should have business. In my opinion, that is very, very important. If you have customers, you have revenue, you have validation that you're doing something right, you have market validation. So funding is definitely very dependent on whether you have customers, you have a healthy order book. Second is team, as Rashida said. And so now you're going for second round or third round. So you should not be a person, and I'm guilty of that, so I'm saying it deliberately, I need to learn. You should not be wearing too many hats and doing firefighting on a regular basis. You should have a second line that is so good that you can go on a vacation for 15 days. 15 days. I didn't say 5 days. I didn't say 2 days, which is what I usually do. That means you have a healthy, solid second line. Third, you need to be a bit schizophrenic. So when you first start a company, you are very innovative, you allow various things to come together, people pitch in at odd hours, you are willing to say yes to things that you had not thought you might do, all of these things. But as you're going for your second or third round, you should have certain processes in place. That your second line or a certain part of the company that has now been doing it for 4 years, 5 years, is able to do it somewhat more automated way with quality, so accreditations and other things come into it. So you should be a bit schizophrenic. You're adding new verticals where there will be a bit of chaos, thrive in chaos, set up that vertical. But as you're becoming mature in certain other verticals, make sure that you have processes and people who can handle it day in and day out and handle customers. Fourth, which is important for us, if you're doing something that is very, very novel, which is what we're doing. We're the first biobank in India, the first commercial biobank in India. Most people say no to us the first time we walk in to say we would like to organize your medical waste. You should know how to communicate. Not in a technical way like I used to, because one has to become a salesperson. And whether it is an investor, whether it is a customer, whether it is your own team members you wish to hire, being able to communicate passionately but also simply is very important, both verbally and on your slides. So those are very, very important things I feel for raising funds, and something that I have learned more recently when we went to raise our second round is the structuring of your company should be right. And many of us have fallen into the trap of not doing it right. So a second investor coming in will want to see a very, very clean cap table. And we don't have that. We've taken certain compromises, we've done certain things that then deter others. So at those times, perhaps we look to Rashida ji to give us a helping hand and help us sort it out. So those are some of the key things when you're scaling up.
I would like to rephrase Deepti's question. You were asking us, Deepti, what are the 3 things needed before a startup goes for funding, right?
No, the question was many times entrepreneurs, mainly women entrepreneurs, feel just because I don't have money, I'm not there. But there are a few things that need to be done before. What are those? Jugnu has already explained, but
All of you have told enough points. I don't want to repeat the same points, but I'm a failed entrepreneur. I learned my lessons the hard way. I don't want to tragedy kind of story. I don't want to tell you. But one thing I would say today, the networks we have, the opportunities we have, the access to mentors, access to investors, access to various industry people who can collaborate with us is really high compared to 22 years ago. One thing, and the most important thing I would say to startup founders before even chasing investors for anything is customers. The three things that are most important for any entrepreneur, whether it's women entrepreneur, a mix of women and men founders, or anybody, three things is customer, 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 nothing else. Just focus on customers. Get your first set of customers onboarded, and they will be your champions. They will be your cheerleaders. Numbers speak to investors, and you need not chase any investors. Investors will chase you instead. In the last few weeks, few months, we have seen so many investors chasing startups to give funding, right? So other than what all my colleagues here have enumerated, team, get your papers right, legal papers I mean to say, and confidence. Obviously, I would add another C, that is customers.
Sorry, I'm interrupting. I think one of the things that you said failed entrepreneur, and you said it with a little catch. Part of taking risk is that there will be failure. We need to celebrate failure. We need not be sorry or shameful or guilty or somehow take a hit for it. A really mature ecosystem looks at failure as a sign of somebody tried and they've learned certain lessons. They will not repeat that mistake for sure. So don't take it. Dil pe nahi lene ka.
So talking of failures, let me talk about my failures. All right, I'm not very good with funding. We came out with this platform, and it was pretty disruptive in the space. But you know how our investment ecosystem works. We've got these cliches of institutes, people, a lot of factors kind of play an important role on that. And perhaps I would have, or we would have, I would say, because I'm not the only one. I mean, I have a co-founder and a male co-founder. So we did go and meet probably every investor around, and we weren't very lucky with it, right? So, but did we, give it up? No, we didn't. That's what all of us entrepreneurs are about. I mean, we're all like little ants sometimes when I think of it. We like build, rebuild, unbuild, and come back, look at what you got. Maybe we didn't do it right. Maybe we haven't got. There's something missing in it. So that's when we came back and thought that create enough value in what you have created. So that you've got people coming and chasing you, like she was saying. So if you're creating nectar, the investments and funds will come and flow in. So that's primarily, I think, at an initial level, depending on where in the journey of entrepreneurship are you at a startup level. But obviously, as we go ahead to, let's say, we were talking about the Series A or the big growth, where you're probably in the growth phase. What I'd like to say is rethink your fund requirements. What is it that what are the things that you think that you need those funds for, right? Do you necessarily need some of the items may be very innovatively or thought of with the help of collaborative partnerships or strategic partnerships or tie-ups. So let's say, for example, customers, right? A lot of times when everybody is looking for funds, the biggest probably the budget for it is the marketing or the scale up or the outreach or go to market that you're talking about, right? But if you're able to kind of think out of the box and innovatively identify people or companies or places or associations
that you could actually, that are primarily in line with what you're doing. So let's if we look at airlines as an example, a lot of times you'd see that they'll give you little packs of peanuts or juices that you've never even heard of, or those are really the trial things. So they're getting it for free. But somebody thought innovatively that okay, they kind of did a partnership with them, and that was creating value. So that ways I've been innovatively kind of cut down on my marketing costs, but thought out of the box. So I think thinking out of the box is really essential. Rethinking and relooking at our funding requirements as to how we can really make sure we are pitching in or going in and identifying the funds that we actually really need.
I can escape like that. So the last question from my end is that many of the entrepreneurs here are passionate founders, right? Startup founders. So as Rashida ji, you mentioned, somebody going from a founder to a CEO, how important is the two additional C's that I see are very important: collaboration and coachability. So if I can get a quick, 30-second blurb from each of you on how important these two are as somebody going from becoming from a startup founder to a CEO, it'll be great to get your insights.
Okay, so 2 mics. 3 sentences with 2 mics, just 3 sentences. Coaching collaboration is the skill for the 21st century. It's not applicable only for women. any CEO or any employee for that matter has to really do that coaching collaboration all the time at all levels. Third, the word which I see these two are pivoting. You have to pivot every time. You could have a game and then you want to get there, but if you don't pivot, any role that you're playing, you are going to be dead. That's my take.
So I agree. I think both are important. I don't know what to say about it.
I have a collaboration not just for the CEO. Today, the way we are all going, collaboration is necessary for anybody and everybody. Somehow, where we lack because of the family pressures or the responsibilities we have at home, or whatever be the reason, is we don't network. Networking doesn't mean just hanging out at some joint, just like that, a meaningful network. We rarely do. We just we function 10 to 5 or 10 to 6 and just off. I'm one of them, by the way, no offense. So I keep, I'm being pushed, once in a while my mentor keeps pushing me into exploring new horizons, mentoring, connecting with new people and getting to know the other side of what's happening in the world. But we don't do that. So collaboration is very important, which is not possible if you don't network. As far as coaching is concerned, the question was little not so clear. Coaching is the need of the hour for the 21st century. Not only 21st century, it was always the need of the hour. Whereas we getting coached, the leaders getting coached and being ready to coach the next line of people is more important than, both are important, but I think both collaboration and coaching both are important. This is the bottom line I would like to say.
Yeah, hi. I think also taking the time off as entrepreneurs, we really need to take that time off to be able to rethink what we've been doing, relook at what we've been doing, think things differently. What is it that we can correct? I think that's really important to kind of, take it to that next step of being able to let go and let the next line of, coach the less, building up the next line of leaders forward and, taking it up.
But everyone, all your responses resonated so well. Because for the first time, I always attend the T-Hub events here. And it's the only time I'm seeing more women than men. Normally, there would be 5 women in a room full of men. And I'm always thinking, am I one of the 5 founders? Why are they not here? So just a thought for everyone here. If you have co-founders who happen to be male, why aren't they here? I brought mine. Year after year, we celebrate and we respect Women's Day. I'm here for this. But we have a problem with the label. Womenpreneur, women founders, female founders. Can we agree that we want to stop this year? So, because if we don't change the narrative, we don't change the label, we're saying it's okay. When deep inside, the first time I heard so many powerful women agree with my thoughts that we need to put an end to this label. Because if I accept it, everyone will continue to say that's how the world grows. My second ask is, if Dipti and MSR, can we have more collaboration between T-Hub and WeHub? We need more visibility here. We need more visibility.
My job and I don't know what to say.
I'm putting it on MSR.
Of October, 6th or 7th of October, kind lady here asked me to come over to WeHub. And you know what's the first thing she said? It took 3.5 years for somebody to cross Durgam Cheruvu to get to WeHub.
Cross the bridge.
Cross the bridge. Yeah?
Literally and figuratively.
Yeah. So
So
by
MSR
the
is no, she needs such a great because it's not there when you're there. So it's not
yeah. So by the way, there is a bunch of things we are starting to do together, but I think we'll probably have to speed up what we do.
Okay, now to my question for Chugnu.
Women or whether it's 50 women. If you're comfortable in that audience, there is no other hitch, you're doing the right thing. And every time the thing should be, I should leave this place better for my having been there. So maybe before you there were 3. By the time you're leaving it's 5. Maybe after you will be 20. So we are hopeless optimists.
Thank you so much for that.
That's what we need to do.
Thank you. Second question. Anyone?
Okay, and you would know what it takes, what is it that you're going to give it, what is it that you will take, and the clarity will emerge as you go. So the last call is always with you, I will do it or not, and that journey itself is a lot of learning, right? And you are thinking that I'm refusing the world, that I will not pick up the funding. For all you know, somebody will say, you know what, you're just good for nothing. You don't know. That's a validation as well. Or you might have a position where somebody is valuing you so much. Both are possible. It's worth going through that whole journey. Yeah, it's worth it. Yeah? Thank you so much. Yeah.
Maybe last question.
That's $100 by the way. Very simple advice. 500.
Maybe
Very
one
cheap, huh?
last question.
I have to tell you at WeHub we subsidize this $100 advice. Marketing pitch.
Painfully. And this is where coachability comes, because you have to listen to people. And I had a very good person in the 3rd year, I think she was with us for almost 4 years. She was a fantastic business development person. So sales is different from business development, is different from marketing. Marketing and business development may go more closer together. Sales is very different. I don't think I'm still very good at sales because I get drowned in technicalities, but I learned a lot at how this business development person who was with us, I saw her slides. At the beginning I used to say, how shallow are these? You know, you haven't shown our data, you haven't shown this. But then I realized you don't have to show everything. You have to show the capability that you have with a few examples. So I would say I'm learning, but I'm not good at sales still. We've been lucky that we've had a few clients. This is a very rarefied type of a field. So we have a few clients who have been very sticky. So my sales needs have been lower, and the clients that have stuck with us have helped us do that. But I don't think, I'm not good at sales. And I think I've heard in one of my mentoring sessions during one thing that CEOs who started the company are usually not good at sales. So that's my comfort.
Thank you, ma'am. Paul,
Not selling and they're not buying.
I know Nidhi and Priyanka are getting a little. We can continue the conversation off
over
stage.
the network.
Yeah? The challenges are the same, and I'm not talking about women entrepreneur challenges, please. The challenges for entrepreneurs are the same. However, based on the economics of that country, the support mechanisms are slightly better. So if I say in the Netherlands or in Germany, the support an entrepreneur might receive is a lot more financially better rather than somebody, let's say, in the US. So those are the only differences, but other than, even in Australia actually, but other than that, the challenges are all the same. Please don't think you're anything special. We are all the same. But however, again, Srini, product plug, WeHub is the only... Jokes apart, to be very honest, I don't think there is... No, but honestly, jokes apart, so what we will actually say is that there are a lot of support mechanisms that are there in the Telangana innovation ecosystem. What did you guys think? Come on. I was plugging something else. No, but I think the Telangana innovation ecosystem that we've created has an end-to-end support mechanism, and we would like to really request that you just don't look at T-Hub, V-Hub, whatever else. There is TSIC, which actually supports you in a different manner. There is T-Works, which is brilliant. There is the Cyber Security Council, which also is great. So we have an entire end-to-end ecosystem, and that is not there anywhere else in the world. So Yeah. So one of the things we are, sorry? More than publicity, okay, I may, so one small suggestion, if I may say, as heading VHub for quite some time. So one of the things that we often hear, I know Nidhi, I'm so sorry, you gave me the mic, it's your fault, but jokes apart. So the thing is, one of the things we often hear is that a lot of women do complain. Women mainly do complain, say that we do not have enough networking forums. I would like to respectfully submit that there are enough networking forums, but not enough women who turn up to those forums. So let us be very, very, very clear when we say we do not have enough networking forums. We do have. The second thing is you have to come to places. So I'll give a small example. We were doing a WEPCA roadshow. We had, I think, 166 reservations, RSVPs for this session. And you know how many people turned up? It was at 11:30 in the morning. 44. The reason I highlight this fact is that there are opportunities available, there is information available, and there has to be platforms where people need to show up. And that is something, as Jugnu mentioned and everybody else here is mentioned, we have to be at places to avail the opportunities. We, as government entities, we can be coming out and highlighting what we do, but we are still a little bit away from the last mile connectivity. And I think this interpersonal networking that we guys have, as all of you are here, we need to spread this and evangelize this more so that more and more people gain the knowledge that you have gained today. Yeah.
I have 3 differences that I will speak about because I was in US for many, many years and I was in Boston. Boston and San Francisco are considered the hubs for healthcare, which is where I was. It's very difficult to raise those kinds of funds in India. Secondly, our company policies and the government interaction is pretty pathetic in India. So the compliance to start a company, to make any small changes, to file your ROC, these are just bears. You know, those soak up so much of your energy and time. And you invariably do something wrong because you can't spend money on an even EY or McKinsey type of consultants. The third thing is, India as a society is much more personal. Whereas US as a society, those 2 countries where I have lived pretty much half my life each, is much more professional. So I don't need to know Deepti personally. I need not have met her 20 times. I may go to a VHub and say, you know what, I come from Sapien, I'm looking for this and this. And within the first 1 or 2 meetings, I will get a yes or no. In India, people will offer you a cup of tea, not Deepti, I'm saying, she hasn't yet. But they will be very nice on the face, but they will just keep you circling around. They don't like to say no. They don't like to say aap mat aao. You know, so you spend a lot of time understanding what are the body signals. And people don't respond to emails. The number of people who are high ups who say, aapne to email bheji thi. Okay, so what should I have done? Should I have walked into your office? Should I have called your mobile? I don't know these things. So coming from outside, I think a professional is somebody, you write a nice email, you expect in 3 days you will get a response, no, I'm not interested. Okay, I'll move on. But India as a society is not a professional society. In general, they like to know you. If they like you, they might do something with you. That takes a lot of time.
I'm going to talk about the story of my enterprise. I run a social enterprise, which is also MSME. My enterprise is called Life Circle Health Services. We provide home healthcare services for seniors. So geriatric home healthcare services, that is what we do. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about is a problem I think would be interesting to all of us as entrepreneurs, and this is a problem that Anu started to talk about briefly, which is a problem of unemployment. So if you look at India, the numbers say that we have about 54 million people who are unemployed, and 85% of that is the youth. I think there are no surprises there. And only 25% of that is women. So question is, where are the rest of the women? Why are only 25% of the women seeking jobs, right? So in a comment that CMI had, CMI stated that when you look at the data related to unemployment, it doesn't tell you the full story of the discouraged young female labor force. So we don't understand what discourages the young female labor force and where to catch hold of them, right? So if you look at what Government of India has been doing, they have been working on the Skill India mission. 2015 to 2021, they have trained about 1.28 crore young people, but they have been able to offer employment only to 56% of them, right? So this we are talking about the apex. So this is one customer segment of Life Circle Health Services. Coming to the second customer segment, we have 138 million people there. Those are the seniors I'm talking about. And it is estimated that about 1% of the seniors require support with activities of daily living. And the context in which we are based, the seniors and us, we live in a system, health system that is completely disjoint. So it is as individuals, when a senior in our home falls sick, it is as individuals we coordinate, we figure, we have to know, right? So it's a lot of burden that comes on the family taking care of the senior. So we connect these two challenges that are, which is unemployment and also the geriatric healthcare. And we work on the vision to ensure that seniors are able to stay healthy in their homes for as long as they want. And we leverage two things. One is technology and the other is the aspiration of India's young workforce. So this is also, we realize an opportunity. We have been working on this since 2013-14, and over a period we have realized that it is an opportunity where we can create huge social impact. So since the day we started, we have received an external, I generally don't give these numbers out because we are a private limited company. We have raised an external investment of 1 crore rupees, and we have clocked a revenue of 24 crores till the end of the last financial year. And thank you, but that's not the fact that I'm most proud of. The fact that I'm most proud of is that 70% of these revenues were paid as salaries and wages to my workers, 90% of whom are women and 90% of whom come from below poverty line households. So that is what makes me most proud about this enterprise. Now, we all understand that as entrepreneurs, we understand that it's very important to have a profitable enterprise before we talk about anything else. So when we started in 2013-14 in Hyderabad, one of the biggest challenges, we didn't know how to provide community-based geriatric home care. We had no clue. We didn't know what kind of conditions we could manage, what kind of people are required, what kind of numbers do you require to break even, right? And it took us about 1.5 years to actually break even at a center level. I'm not talking about the organization level, at the center level. And right now we are in 5 cities across India, including in Hyderabad. And I'm happy to tell you that we have kind of quarter to half that time over subsequent branches, the break-even time. And I'm also very happy to tell you that since 2018-19, at a company level, we have been profitable. Of course, with the COVID hit here, we have again not been profitable, but otherwise we have been on the journey of company level profitability. So, and this cannot be achieved without a deep, a commitment to quality of care. And, for those of us who work in healthcare, we understand that healthcare quality and customer delight is a very tough task even in an institutional setting. So just to give you a sense of what our operations look like, Apollo Hospitals in Jubilee Hills has 550 beds that they have built over a period of 32 years. And we run close to 500 services that are dispersed across 5 cities in homes of individuals. So think about the challenge that we face when we talk about how do you talk about quality, how do you define quality, how do you ensure that these disparate homes, you are able to provide some level of quality of care. And that is when we realize that it is very, very important for us to actually have data and good quality data real time to ensure that we understand exactly what happens in each of the homes of these seniors. And that is how, and also to understand the expectations of both our customer segments. On one hand we have the seniors and the families, and on the second hand we have the health workers, right? And in this journey, T-Hub has been an amazing partner to us. And I want to spend a few seconds listing some of the areas of support that we have received from them. One is the amazing location that you see. It's a big boost. We may not understand it, but it is a big boost to have a location like this. And the location is not only the physical infrastructure, which is amazing, but it is also the credibility that comes with an association with a government body, one. And the second is the kind of people that you are sitting with, because these are all people who are on very similar kind of journeys. Then there are learning opportunities that are announced by T-Hub and that you can take advantage of. Then there is media coverage that you as entrepreneurs and enterprises cannot afford in early parts of your journey, and T-Hub celebrates. T-Hub has celebrated every small achievement that we have had, and the kind of media that we have got from T-Hub. We are very, very grateful, and it has played a very important role in helping us reach where we are. And grant finalizations. So they have connected us to people who have given us grant, and I'm very happy to tell you we have trained over 600 people over a span of last 4 years, school dropouts, to become geriatric carers thanks to T-Hub. And the last thing that and this is not the last of the list, but the one thing I want to talk about is investor and the stakeholder connect. So like some of the panelists spoke, one is to understand, hear the names of various bodies that are here to help startup. And the second is to actually get access to these bodies. So that is what T-Hub helped us with. With the investors from 2017 to 19, we would have met 15, 20 investors, but we did not manage to raise a single rupee from any of these investors. But what we gained from those interactions is an understanding of what do these investors look for when they look at enterprises like us. What do they want? What do they invest in? So we have had investors tell us that if you come with a 35-fold request for investment, the value of the requestment, the size of the investment we are asking, we would be happy to support you. So what we have done over the period of last 2 to 3 years is actually, so we see two kinds of comments, criticism that we have faced. One is that we are a human resource business, right? Because we work with people. We payroll 500 people every single month who work on the ground. And the investors feel that it is not scalable. So the second criticism connected to that is the scale. And we worked on both these. On the first thing, we didn't want to work because we feel that a human being is the best person to care for another person. Even if tomorrow there are technologies, we feel that there is a human interface that is important in geriatric care. But on the second one, the scale piece, we are ready with an application, a mobile application, which we are shortly going to launch, which we think is going to disrupt how this area is going to look like. So what I'm talking about is, if you have a senior in Dibrugarh who wants care, we don't have services in Dibrugarh. And if the senior is able to log the request to us, within a certain number of days, we commit to find a carer who's located in an Uber kind of model, is located in a radius of 10 to 20 to 40 kilometers, who is willing to service that senior. And we believe that this has the power to disrupt the place that we're working in. And I am so happy to be here, and I thank T-Hub, the government of Telangana, and happy Women's Day to all of you wonderful entrepreneurs, and not to forget the amazing women that work with us all the time to help us reach where we reach. Thank you very much.
They have done a lot of research analyzing, acquiring information from many influencing and inspiring women leaders to induce everything inside this book to help their readers accelerate by implementing their journeys. I request MSR to launch the book and make it available for everyone to acquire the wisdom and implement to accelerate.
Only a minute, right? Okay. So I've known Purnima forever. 30, specific. Yeah, I've known her for 36 years. Okay. And I've known Supriya for, I think, about 4.5 years, right? So I think what they've put together is completely awesome. Okay. And I'll tell you why. Because one is whatever they've written about is a lived experience. Right? They have actually done work on the ground across multiple cohorts of entrepreneurs. With your permission, I use the word women. Right? So that people don't bang me up after that. Yeah, but in terms of how do you put together a program, the first thing is you have to remember this programs they have done are all about adult learning. So it's not about pedagogy, it's about andragogy. That's the first part. Second is, how do you put together a cohort? How do you select the cohort? What kind of learning interventions do you do? How do you make it truly experiential? How do you create a community? How do you get the larger ecosystem involved in making this replicable and scalable model? All of that is captured in the book. And maybe I should also say that I wrote the foreword, so it has to be ready. Right?
But we thought T-Hub was the most awesome place in
ecosystem.
Everyone connected with entrepreneurship, and honestly, after having read excerpts of the book, this is nothing to do with gender. Okay, so please read the book. Okay, and I think it's something which will enrich your learning about how we can build a true culture of entrepreneurship in Hyderabad, in India, and so on.
Interesting. But what I'm going to speak to you about is what is common sense for a woman in any household, right? Look at your mothers, look at your grandmothers. The most complicated of problems, they will just solve it. They were not entrepreneurs, they were not educated, they didn't have big degrees, but it's just common sense that they drove over generations, and they've created milestones, and they were brilliant, right? So I come from a background of design and architecture, and practiced for almost 20 years in the design industry. And one thing I found in my own fraternity and also around, as citizens, nobody is actually focusing on the basic things for life, like water, right? Water is so important to us, but we've taken it for granted that it's going to be there forever. And though everybody knows that it's not infinite, it's not an infinite resource, it's a finite resource, but we often don't focus. So my whole work, when we moved back from the US in 2000, actually I'm also from Bangalore, I was hoping to go back to Bangalore, but we happened to be in Hyderabad. Most communities that I've lived in were buying tankers and managing water with tankers for more than few months in a year. When you had so much rainwater, you have piped water, you have different types of water. That's the first time as a designer I started looking at water as how we are managing it. And then of course many experiences, learnings, and pushing people to do the right things, and working on ground for years, I figured out that I have to become an example. I have to prove something that I can build a sustainable home, simply a sustainable home where I'm not dependent on tankers, and I've managed my water well. And then I ventured in our own community and then also created a success story. So in the middle of Gachibowli, which is the central business district today in Hyderabad, where tankers are all over the place and heavily dependent on piped supply. Piped supply is nothing but river water which we fetch from 200 kilometers away. Nobody cares a damn about this. You're actually plugging farmers' water and you're getting it to cities. We need it, but we don't use it consciously. So today in Gachibowli, living here for almost 11 years, we don't buy a single tanker. And we proved it that if we do certain things for water, it works. So my whole, so I'm not an NGO, I'm a social enterprise, and it's It's a for-profit social organization which I built, but I came upon to build this after several years of work on ground. So I call this presentation the challenge of water conservation. So many of us in the city, as mostly men, women, I agree with all of them that we shouldn't have something called a Women's Day. I think every day to be celebrated by, it's the ability to move ahead and think beyond what you can, what many people think you can't achieve. If you can achieve that one thing, I think whoever it is, man or woman, should be celebrated. So you see these kind of dump yard things in our city today, all over the city, anywhere you go. What is our first thought? It just gives you some frustration. You don't think beyond. It may be just behind where we stay, but we don't think much about this. But look what we found here. That is a heritage step well. 22 lakh liters of water that it can hold. 2,000 tons of garbage we removed out of this. And that simply looked like this. And it's in the middle of the city that we found. So this is one of the works that we do as a social enterprise. So after understanding gaps in our own industry and how the community works and behavioral change, all of this put together pushed me to start this social enterprise with a vision for water conservation on a bigger arena. So you have national goals, you have goals for the state, you have goals for the city, and you have goals for your own home when it comes to water. Any home, I think only women know when you get water, how much water do you have, when do you order the tanker, when do you order your bottled water. This is what we do, right? So my thought was, why can't we manage water in the larger arena? Why can't we, make this happen? But even today, the sad fact is, whether it is lake restoration, whether it is well restoration, I'm only talking to men. Sadly, right? So because I don't know, maybe it is, we think as women that maybe we don't understand this field, or maybe we think that we can't be the change in this, or we don't understand water the way it should be. But my work simply, was with common sense. Like, why can't we solve this? We're just talking, analyzing, but why are we not solving this? So this is one of the 6 wells in the last 2 years as a social enterprise that we have restored in the city of Hyderabad. We are doing several well restorations across Hyderabad as well. So as a social enterprise, I decided my business model. I went to several mentors. What should my business model be? How should I create this, achieve this vision that I have for water? Because my only sense was create a replicable model in a locality or in and around a lake, make it happen, and take this replicable model anywhere in the country. Anyone could replicate it. So every well that we restore, we also write a book of what challenges, why did we do it, what did we go through, and how did we achieve it. So we've done about 4 books till now. We still have many to go, but documenting is something, as an architect, I realized as the first thing to do, because it helps a lot of societies. Now, to get funding for this, we talked a lot about funding, right? So in my business model, I realized that 30% will be public space projects that we take, for which I will go find the funds from whether it is CSR, or today I have understood that I can go to institutions, I can go to builders, I can go to several other, other than corporate, there are several other ways to get funds in communities. So starting from wells we've restored from 2-3 lakh rupees seemed very hard. But the 6th well, we found, I was able to convince somebody to give 1 crore rupees to complete, the restoration of this well. So funding is not, a big thing, is what I see today. If you believe in your cause, and if you're able to convince somebody, whatever your product is, whatever your service is, I think you will find it, is what my belief is. So that's our home, which is completely a sustainable home. grey water recycling, we grow our own vegetables. All of the greenery is from recycled water, and we don't even waste a drop of rainwater that falls here. So from there, going on to seeding action with my own clients, started talking about rainwater harvesting and that, because everyone does it like an eye wash thing, right? I mean, rainwater harvesting is a mandate of the government, but everyone does it as an eye wash. And we as designers also, if the builder or if the client is not, it's nobody's priority, believe me, water is not anybody's priority still, right? We just think that because we are only connected to the tap and the tanker. We are not connected to the source. The moment you're connected to the source, you will do many more things towards conservation. So starting from here and innovating in our own design studio, how to build these structures for urban challenging spaces. Now coming from the architecture and design space, we understand different buildings and typologies and the built and unbuilt environment. So we started building solutions. Today, you build rainwater harvesting pits, but 85% of the pits in the city do not work. 70% of our sewage in the city is not processed. It's lying all around us. And because this is an invisible story, we don't give an ear to this. All of this 70% sewage that is not processed around us is getting into our borewells. We've tested the borewell water in many areas, and it's contaminated water. 60% of this borewell water is what we drink today. So and then we spend lakhs and lakhs in hospitals. But even today, if we say do rainwater harvesting or water conservation, that's not priority. But you rather prefer to spend lakhs in hospitals tomorrow. So this disconnect bothered me a lot. So this whole enterprise, starting with this, now like most startups ask, okay, who are your clients? Everybody is a client to us. What we have built here is literally everybody needs this. But still, we are struggling, I will say. In the last 2 years, we've done several success stories and we've moved ahead. We've made major builders, landmark builders to adopt this water conservation. We've done a lot in our field. And I'm very happy to say it's been a very profitable business, and we've been able to do a lot of successful public well restorations and lake restorations as well. So I want this business to build in such a way that the 70% of work that we do will support our 30% of public space projects on its own, right? That's that's where I want to go with this.
Kalpana, here. I'm here. Can you do it? Like,
yeah.
We are running out of time.
This isn't moving. There's some issues. Yeah, so this is a lot of community engagement that we do, and this is the crux of our water problem and identifying issues, getting people to understand their lakes and water bodies, taking it to temples. Why are we talking about water only to communities? Why not hotels, malls? Why not temples, institutions? And how we plan, we basically arrived at a block by block plan. We divided the city of Hyderabad into 98 blocks, and we are strategically working towards every block, and these are all the problems in every block. And I'm very happy to say whatever fund we have got so far has supported impact for more than 3 lakh people in just one block in the city. Now we're working seriously on 5-6 blocks, and soon we want to cover ground. And this is the difference, right? You see what happens when you restore something and what is it otherwise. These are all our commercial projects. Our commercial projects, our goal was to achieve 1 billion liters into the ground. We've already crossed 600 million liters. Bringing a lot of innovation to rainwater harvesting, supporting a lot of livelihoods, and bringing back water, connecting urban stories to the development that's happening today, changing the mindset of people, bringing behavioral change, and connecting our design sensibilities to every single project that we have done, connecting culture and heritage, working in the peri-urban areas, talking about our parks, talking about our lakes and livelihoods there, and talking about rainwater harvesting under flyovers, connecting with municipalities, making people the champions of change. So we've been able to impact a few lakh people in Hyderabad today, and we hope we connect with the national goals. And also I was very happy about this Women's Day thing for one reason, that in 2020 Prime Minister Narendra Modi identified 7 women in the country and gave his social media handles for a cause, and I'm very proud to say I'm one of them.
Great.
So this Women's Day thing works sometimes, I think. So yeah, thank you for listening to our story and entrepreneurial journey. Like I said, it's simply common sense that drove me to start this social enterprise. And if I look back 10 years from now, I'm always going to be happy that we've created a footprint on Brown for Water.
For this session, you've been very patient. My name is Rashmi Pimple. I'm the CEO of RICH, Research and Innovation Circle of Hyderabad. I have Purnima Shenoy and Supriya Panchangam, who are the co-authors of the book that we just released. Congratulations to both of you on the launch of the book. We have Madhura Dasgupta Sinha, who is the CEO and founder for Aspire for Her. And we have Sameer Sathe, who is the Executive Vice President of Vadhwani Foundation.
Thank you, Rashmi. It's so nice to see such a patient audience. We will keep it short and sweet. So I have been an entrepreneur several times over. I've done 3 startups, and some I've exited with honor, and some I've just exited with this, skin of my teeth. Okay, and as everyone knows, these are several issues. I think especially funding is a big issue for women, and I'm so glad it was touched today. While accelerating and working with startups, you realize that the needs of women as entrepreneurs or women-owned enterprises are very distinctly different from that of men. I've been a woman who has raised money. I worked with women who are entrepreneurs and felt that there was a need definitely to address this gap. And that's how Supriya and I got together and said, how can we work together, create a book that can be a handbook to guide accelerating women's businesses. This is the first book of its kind in the country. We did a lot of research. I'm very proud of the research that we have done. It is authentic data, not copied from anywhere, and it is the first one of its kind. I hope that the accelerators will use it as a guidebook going forward. Thank you so much.
Hi everybody, my name is Supriya Panchangam. I'm the co-author of the book that we released today, like she mentioned. Over the last 5 to 6 years, I've primarily worked with entrepreneurs, helping them in their 0 to 1 stage, which is idea to execution stage. We've touched upon very relevant topics today, and I think we're going to talk about it a little more. Very, very happy to be on this panel today, especially with Purnima, Madhura, both incredible women leaders, both incredible women entrepreneurs, and Sameer, who has been an incredible supporter of entrepreneurs and entrepreneurial people like me. Looking forward for this conversation. Thank you for bringing up the topic, Rashmi. I'm looking forward to it.
I am Madhura Dasgupta Sinha, founder and CEO of Aspire for Her. I've been a banker for 25 years, and I was looking at gender data emanating from India, and I realized in terms of economic participation of women, India is 6th from the bottom in a list of 156 countries. This is as per the Global Gender Gap Index. The problem was not as bad all this while. For the last 15 years, there's actually been a sharply declining participation of women in the workforce. I got a little depressed when I saw this data. I thought someone needs to do something about this problem. I thought that someone could be me. That's how Aspire for Her was born. Thank you.
Hi, this is Sameer. Just a quick intro. I have 30 years of experience in research and strategy consulting, and now I'm with Vadhwani Foundation doing the incredible cause of employment, right? So which is a very important, mighty important issue for not only India but across the world. I think a subject on women empowerment, women equity, these are all very buzzwords nowadays and everyone is talking about it, has been my area of deep interest right from the beginning. Even in masters, which I did that in psychodynamic principles that drive the entrepreneurs, and my subject was elected women representatives in India. And when this book topic came up and Purnima and Supriya talked about it, it was fascinating because I got interested in this topic instantly, and I found a lot of the things that we discussed resonated quite well amongst ourselves. And therefore, not only in terms of the thought process and what requires to be done to make sure that we don't think of this subject as something which is different or something which is unique in years and decades to come, I'll make sure that I'll continue to collaborate with the authors and the greater audience in a much more meaningful way than just sitting here on the dais and talking about it. Thank you so much.
I think what we write about in the book, like MSR rightly mentioned when we were launching the book, it's a great culmination of, for me personally, it's been a great culmination of the kind of experiences that I've had in the last 1.5 decades, right? There is design, there's empathy, there is being able to build communities, there's like how do you manage operations, logistics, how do you figure out what kind of entrepreneurs to hire to select for your accelerator. I think the book covers many aspects which we inherently sort of take for granted, right? So how do you sort of find those specific points and how do you bring that to the fore? The book focuses on that. It was a very easy choice. I don't think it was a very difficult choice to make. That and obviously Purnima has been a great co-author. And to say that would be the least. She's been so much more. She's been such a great supporter. Also, I think the sort of overlap of the experience that Purnima and I bring to the table, our ability to articulate, our sort of ability to look back and look at what are our professional competencies, what are our biases, what has worked, what's not worked. And like she mentioned, a lot of research, reaching out to people that we've worked with closely and deriving insights from their direct experiences, right? We thought that it would be a very, very relevant thing to talk about in today's world, and especially in India, women accelerators and incubators are just everywhere, right? And like a lady mentioned in one of the Q&As, how do we get to know, how do we know which network to interact with and things like that? I think there are a lot of solves for that in the book, and it was easy for us to just arrive at it. Thank you.
Sure. So I think if you read the book, and when I was talking about this to Supriya and Purnima, there are three things that really stood out for me. The first is really, one of the things that we ought to do is really to think about community, because I think we spoke and we heard earlier that what we have found, at least what I have found in my research, and even science proves it, is that a woman is able to connect and bond and relate and collaborate better in generally all walks of life, and particularly in entrepreneurship. In my experience, what I have found is that when one is thinking about a male entrepreneur, he connects mainly to serve the purpose, and then there is no reason left for that person to connect any longer. But that doesn't happen with women. When a woman connects, they definitely the purpose is served, but then the relationship continues, and that I found very interesting. And when one studies the subject of entrepreneurship and what happens in community, it was clear to me that if you are able to design the programs which are community based and therefore solve a problem in a society which not only benefits a particular individual or particular entity or particular segment but the entire community, then we have a great chance to make an impact at the systemic level. Because a lot of the entrepreneurs and a lot of the women entrepreneurs are not able to scale it up. Of course, many entrepreneurs are not able to scale it up, including male and female. But I found the difference pretty stark when it comes to female entrepreneurs. So any problem which is community problem, and if you are able to design problems which are you are able to design programs which are going to address the problem at the community level, I believe that they can really change the face of the scale and the systemic impact. So that's one. Secondly, I have talked about a socialist approach and the capitalist approach. And I think that's where the difference between gender equality and gender equity comes into picture. Gender equity is mighty important. And I think the way to think about this is that now the reason that we are meeting today, Women's Day, and we are all celebrating all this, is because we believe that a woman needs to be given a fair treatment, right, in quotes. But I think it's more important to look at gender equity when we are basically making sure that the situation, the context, the capabilities, the skills and resources that are made available to a woman are made adequate, and then it should be left to merit. Right? And that is very important when we think about this problem as a social problem, but the way to solve this problem is through a capitalist lens, in terms of reward the meritocracy, but make sure that there are resources and a level playing field for everybody, males or females. So that's the second. And the third thing that I've talked about in the book is about access to, again, the mentors, the coaches and the experts, etc., which is very, very important, because it's not only about a woman entrepreneur, but even a male entrepreneur. I have found that if one is able to adapt, one is able to navigate, one is able to pivot, somebody mentioned that right earlier, then one has better chances to become successful. So I think these are the three things that I've kind of tried to summarize, but happy to talk otherwise elsewhere.
I'm the original one who's opposed the word woman entrepreneur, but now I have come to accept it because it is a distinct phrase. But I think women as entrepreneurs need more of a level playing field, especially in terms of raising money and in terms of funding. I mean, there was data spoken about earlier, and this is very true. Women find it exceedingly difficult to raise money. One thing is, with no offense to anybody, there's a lot of old boys networks, and women are not a part of it. So going and asking money from strangers is difficult for women. We are culturally brought up saying, don't ask for money, don't speak about money. And I think that's something we need to break about. So nowadays, when I talk to customers, and I work with a lot of companies, I'm talking about money in the first meeting itself. Why should we hesitate to ask for money when we give damn good service and work so hard for it? So I think the differential treatment women need is help them to talk about money. And I'm saying this from every platform. Let's talk about funding, let's talk about financing. You'll be surprised how many women have their husband, father, brother manage the finances. But they are not managing the finances of the business they're slogging so hard for. So I think from that perspective, women need to be made to be more aware of it. Thank you.
So at Aspire for Her, we have the vision to add more than 1 million women to the workforce by 2025 and 10 million by 2030. And we do this by using the power of communities and networks. So we work with a bunch of communities, and one of the communities that we have built over the last 6 months is Entrepreneurs. This is meant for women entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs. And I have often thought of because we are a COVID baby, okay, we're not yet 2 years old. Tomorrow we're going to turn 2, okay, and we have built about the community size is about 120,000 now, and the entrepreneurial community size just crossed 10,000 a few days back. We're now today about 12,000. So we use a lot of innovative means, I would say, to actually build the community, but it's all been online, right? We look at mentors and role models, we look at learning opportunities, we look at career previews, we look at a fantastic peer community where people support each other, cheerlead for each other, etc. And we want every woman in India to be in what we call the 3E, which is either entrepreneurship, employment, or education, which leads to one of these two. Entrepreneurs as a community, we try to use all of these 5 elements, and we try to ensure that whether it is somebody like Falguni Nayak who comes and talks to us, to our members, to just motivate them, inspire them, or it's that little Madhubani painter who is trying to just get a business model in place and is speaking to one of our mentors and is actually finding the way, we managed to do it. So we try to democratize entrepreneurship, we try to make entrepreneurship aspirational for women. But if you were to really ask me in one word, I saw all of you here today with your fantastic stories, and I feel that entrepreneurial should be just a bigger version of T-Hub. It's just amazing, the amazing energy that I saw with all of you here. I just felt that if I can drive something like a T-Hub, if I can build something like this ecosystem, then entrepreneurial will be successful. So thank you for giving me this space, and thank you for letting me share my dreams about entrepreneurial. Thank you.
We've spoken a lot about, I think we've spoken a lot about it in the last couple of panels as well. Yes and no. I think in the previous panel they spoke about, I think cultural upbringing and the kind of societal systemic challenges people go through make them different kind of entrepreneurs. It is not, one of the things that we advocate for in the book.
I think the biggest thing that an entrepreneur needs, what I felt, is trust. Okay, when you hire your first core team, people are joining the company because of you. Okay, and you have to remember that you have to pay their salaries every month. Okay, this is not something that you can delegate. So they are joining the company trusting you. When you're going to customers and you are a new entrepreneur, it's a new business, they're doing business with you, trusting you again. So it underlines the word trust, whether it is the employees or whether it's your customers or anybody in the ecosystem. So I would say, the most important thing as an entrepreneur is establish that trust early enough.
Very good question, and of course it's a very important topic because I just want to connect this answer to one of the earlier points, is that research is very clear that the way woman sees her own identity has got tremendous implications on how men see women's identity. And we alluded to that in one of the earlier panels when we talked about it. So firstly, I would say the men have to, I would say 2-3 things. The first is at the adolescent age, all these perspectives, all these things are shaped up. That's a very important age. So one of the things that needs tremendous intervention is how we can shape the attitudes towards the gender between each other in adolescence. That's very important. It has tremendous implications. In fact, I'm one of the board of advisor members at a startup called Wulu, and I was just mentioning to MSR earlier, and they talk about how to shape the adolescent attitudes which will have implications on the gender roles that men and women play later in their lives. So I think we need to look at catching that phase because the mind is most influential at that point of time. So that's number one. Second, when it comes to adults, of course, I think is what is required is that I see for the next 10, 20, 30 years, these kinds of fora, these kinds of occasions are incredibly important because they create the visibility of why this cause is important, right? So in the short term, that's going to be very, very important to be able to do that consistently and relentlessly. And that would need an involvement of men as equal to involvement of women, right? So I would imagine a forum or a platform which has 50% representation of men and women, whether it's a woman's cause or a men's cause. So that's going to be very important. So through structure, one can change the way things happen, right? And I think the third thing is about making sure that we need to actually create successful stories and role models because that's a demonstration effect. And then I think for the next third generation, fourth generation from now, when they look at the successful role models, things will change. So it's both in thought and action. I think these are the three things how men can make a difference. And I think that's something that needs to be brought to their consciousness first, and then of course acted upon.
I read a very, very interesting post on LinkedIn a couple of days before where they said, ask men around you, how are they specifically supporting you, right? And I want to shout out to Harappa, who is also one of our supporters in this journey. It's a very assumed idea that, oh, you know, my husband's very supportive of my journey and my manager is very supportive of my career and etc. But take a moment and ask them, how are you specifically supporting me, right? And it's a great start point for both men and women to understand what kind of support you can seek, and for men, what kind of support they can provide.
I think more than entrepreneurship, we need to ensure that the more women in the workforce, there need to be more women participating in the economy. And on your question on men, that has also a lot to do with role models. You know, some time back we saw a Cadbury ad, a remaking of a Cadbury ad, where a guy called Prabneet Singh actually cheered for the woman, right? How many of you have seen this ad, right? Everybody's seen this ad, right? And, you know, men unfortunately don't have much of a choice because nobody really tells them what to do to be supportive, right? And that's why we need to tell the stories of those men who are supportive. And you know, I will embarrass this one person sitting in the audience right here because we are actually going to run a story on him just a few days down the line. You know, he is in the audience. He actually supports a community of women so strongly. It's called She Dares, and the person is Chandra Balani, about whom we are going to write about shortly. So he's trekked all the way here to meet us. This is a community supported by Amazon Web Services, which we very closely work with them. But, you know, I think it's examples and stories that really make all the difference, you know. It's not about theory, it's not about doing, you know, all fancy things about 5-point models and all of that. It is just those stories. So whether it is, and we want to tell those stories. Those stories will be the nudges and triggers of tomorrow. So, you know, whether it is Amitabh Bachchan, who we also found him to be a very unlikely supporter to our cause because his granddaughter actually supports entrepreneurship in a big way. And on the 1000th episode of KBC, he decided to talk about entrepreneurship. And we found that very cool and we said, hey, let's use this because we are shameless. We want every way to ensure that more women get impressed by the concept of entrepreneurship and they actually take more risk. So, as I said, we take all chances. We try to be as creative as possible. We try to find these stories from real life, from people sitting around us. And that's what we try to do to increase the pipeline.
Stories are something that resonate with each one of us. I would have loved to talk to you for more than an hour after this, but I think in the interest of time, I will stop here and I'll ask Priyanka if we have some time for questions from the audience. Maybe a couple of questions. Would request the member of the audience to direct it directly to a panelist. We can await response. Everybody's hungry, it seems.
Good evening. It's been really interesting listening to each one of you, though I came in a little later. Purnima, I've seen you in different avatars earlier, and now moving into this space of writing a book, especially on women entrepreneurs to inspire, innovate, and ignite, as the theme says. And I love listening to Madhura, Samir, and Supriya, I have to say that. So, Purnima, my question is, as you straddle different roles, and then you've taken up the journey much later, because that's another thing. I think the stigma is, at what age can you become an entrepreneur? Can you be an entrepreneur at a very prime age or whatever? Because you can experiment, you can fail, it's safe to fail. So I've seen you, I've known you, so I want others also to listen how age shouldn't be a barrier when you choose, for women especially, to choose the entrepreneurial path.
Thank you so much. Thank you all the panelists, and thank you audience for being so patient. I enjoyed the session. Over to you, Priyanka.
Thank you. Thank you, Rashmi, for being such wonderful moderator, and thank you for giving me a couple of minutes, closing couple of minutes earlier, right?
Yeah, it is very heartening to see the presence of such brilliant individuals in this event today. And as a young professional, it is my privilege to speak before you. Your contribution in building the nation is commendable, and I would like to take this opportunity to walk you through the story of the Indian startup ecosystem and the Startup India initiative. The Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi launched the Startup India initiative on 16th January 2016 as a clarion call to the innovators, entrepreneurs and thinkers of the nation to lead from the front and drive India's sustainable economic growth. A 19-point action plan for Startup India was unveiled by the Prime Minister, spanning across three major pillars of simplification and handholding, funding support and incentives, and industry academia partnerships and incubation. The initiative thrives for providing a long-due impetus to the entrepreneurial setup or in the economic landscape of India. The results of the same are visible now as India has emerged as a top destination for startups. Today, India is positioned as the third largest startup ecosystem with a strong competency of accelerating to the top. our startups are addressing the challenges being faced by the world. Demand-led innovation is peaking, spurred on by the pandemic's tailwinds, and digitization is happening across the length and breadth of the country. In a very short span of time, India has shown a great appetite for technology, data, and internet. The number of startups recognized today stands at more than 64,000, which is a testament to the growing movement. Out of these, 46% of the startups have at least one woman director or a co-founder, and showcases an increase in the number of women entrepreneurs in the startup ecosystem. Every startup requires handholding, which includes resources, connect to mentors, connect to fellow entrepreneurs. Startup India has launched the Startup India Hub, which is a one-stop destination for startups and other stakeholders. The hub aims to act as a friend to a startup and support in every single manner. More than 5 lakh users have registered on the Startup India portal, which consists of tools, templates, partnered services, query management services, knowledge bank, to name a few. How does the government really define a startup? An entity which is a private limited company, a LLP, or a registered partnership hasn't exceeded a period of 10 years since its date of incorporation and has not exceeded a turnover of rupees 100 crores in any of its previous financial years, is innovative, scalable, and works towards creating jobs and wealth, is considered to be a startup. Getting a DPIT recognition is extremely simple, an online process, and provides a startup with multifarious benefits such as rebate on patent and trademark applications, income tax and angel tax benefits, self-certification for various labor and environmental laws, and easier public procurement. Funding is pivotal for any startup. Recognizing the same, the government formed a fund of funds for startups with a corpus of rupees 10,000 crores to increase capital availability as well as to catalyze private investments and thereby accelerate the growth of the Indian startup ecosystem. Out of the said fund, rupees 100 crores is earmarked for women-led startups. In 2021, bridging the gap between an idea and a startup, DPIIT launched the Startup India Seed Fund scheme, a 945 crore corpus scheme to provide financial assistance to startups for proof of concept, prototype development, product trials, market entry, and commercialization. This would enable startups to scale and pass the valley of death, enter the markets, and compete against established corporate players. International access to Indian startups is one of the key objectives under the initiative. It helps to connect Indian startup ecosystem to global startup ecosystem through various engagement models. This has been done through international government-to-government partnerships, participation in international forums, and hosting of global events. Startup India has launched bridges with 13 countries that provides a soft landing platform for startups from the partnered nations and aid in promoting cross-collaboration. Actions taken so far have resulted in a culture of innovation and entrepreneurship taking root firms across the length and breadth of the country. The results are visible across all fields of human endeavor. The National Startup Awards have been conceptualized to further strengthen the startup ecosystem in the country. It is an initiative to recognize and reward outstanding startups in the ecosystem and the ecosystem enablers that are providing innovative products or solutions and scalable enterprises with high potential of employment, generation of wealth, demonstrating measurable social impact. In 2020, the first edition of National Startup Awards was launched by DPIIT. A total of 192 finalists were handheld across 9 vital pillars of support. Apart from cash prizes, finalists and winning startups were provided exclusive handholding support in 9 areas, including Investor Connect, international market access, regulatory reforms, corporate connects, product showcase, mentorship, and government connect. And a dedicated program on Doordarshan, among others, to highlight stories of the best innovations in the country. These startups, post the awards, collectively reported an average revenue of 3.5 crores, more than 3,600 jobs generated, more than 400 crores of funds raised, and a 49% increase in net profits. Despite the challenging times during the peak of COVID, the Indian startup ecosystem had showcased unprecedented resilience and zest for innovation, which has been playing an important role in propelling the nation's socio-economic growth trajectory. As a successor to the first edition, National Startup Awards 2021 imbibed the philosophy of recognizing and rewarding outstanding startups and enablers which have demonstrated exceptional capabilities in terms of its impact. The 2021 edition also recognized startups innovating solutions to promote Indic languages and to complement national efforts to combat the COVID-19 pandemic. In line with the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, NSA 2022 will acknowledge startups and enablers who have been instrumental in revolutionizing the developmental story of India and hold within them the power and potential to enable the vision of activating India 2.0, fueled by the spirit of Atmanirbhar Bharat. The recognized entities will benefit from such recognition not only in terms of being able to attract more business, financing, partnerships and talent, but also enable them to serve as a role model to other entities, budding entrepreneurs, and to inspire them to be more purposeful and responsible about the socio-economic impact. NSA 2022 will also focus on the ESG practices, climate change, and other sustainable initiatives such as blue economy, green economy, sustainable tourism, digitization, etc. It aims to look beyond the traditional thought process of measuring the success of a startup, that is to funding, financial gains for investors, etc., to parameters such as benefit for the society, solving a key problem, developing innovative solutions which brings a paradigm shift in the approach in the sector. Startup India is now inviting applications for National Startup Awards 2022 across 17 sectors, 50 subsectors and 7 special categories. A startup can apply for only one sector and subsector, and eligible startups can now apply to a maximum of 2 special categories. A cash prize of Rs 5 lakhs shall be awarded to one winning startup in each of the subsector and of 15 lakh each to an incubator and an accelerator. In order to celebrate achievements by women in the startup ecosystem, all the editions of the National Startup Awards have a special category for women-led startups. In the 2021 edition, 863 applications came from startups in the category of women-led startups. EdTech, healthcare, agri-tech, clean tech, and business support services are among the top 5 sectors that have witnessed the highest growth in startups with at least one women director in the past 5 years. We had Azuka Labs from Bangalore that won the women-led category in NSA 2020, which works in the biotech and life sciences sector based on their innovation impact and scaling potential. In 2021, a startup from Jaipur, Frontier Markets Consulting, won the women-led category and employs more than 100,000 women. The application for National Startup Awards are open till 15th March 2022. One needs to be a DPIT recognized startup, which is an extremely simple online process, and this is an opportunity to get recognition for your contribution to the startup ecosystem. Other eligibility criteria include having a hardware or software product or a process solution that is present in the market, having all the applicable trade-specific registrations, and no default in the last 3 years of the entity or any of its promoters. Considering the pivotal role an incubator accelerator plays in the startup ecosystem, NSA recognizes the contribution to both incubators and accelerators should be structured as an independent entity, a company, a public trust, or a society should be operational at least for 2 years as on 1st January 2022. The only difference is that incubators must have successfully graduated a minimum of 15 startups, while an accelerator must have successfully graduated a minimum of 10 startups. The National Startup Awards will provide extensive hand-holding across various pillars of support, including pitching opportunities to winners and finalists for presenting to relevant public authorities and corporates for potential pilot projects and work orders. They will also be given priority for participation in various national and international startup events sponsored by the Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade. Besides the cash prize for incubators and accelerators, NSA recognition helps such enablers in promotion of their activities and support offered among the startup community. I would therefore urge you all to get every startup, incubator or accelerator you know to apply for the National Startup Awards and get their stories forward. Thank you.
Wait. Right.
partnership with Lead Angels, we are hosting a community demo day where all the incubators will nominate 3 marquee startups from their cohorts, and we will from Lead Angels side bring respective portfolio investors who are willing to invest in this stage sector startups. So anybody in this audience would like to pitch at the demo day, irrespective of you part of any incubator or not, please get in touch with me. I would love to take it. I'm right here. So like you can bring MSR coordinate. If MSR is your point of contact, or else Aarti is famous enough for the game. So yeah, thank you.
We're fortunate to associate and ally with such mentors to foster innovation and drive the entrepreneurs. Let us now celebrate our mentors, guides, teachers, and the ones who bring shortcuts to the path of our goals and aspirations. I would now like to call Kati. Then I would like to moving on. I would like to invite PS, Vice President of Innovation and Leader onto the dais. If anyone can collect on behalf of Kati.
now it is Madhuri Venkata Subbarao Engineering College. This is a 41-year-old college. Thank you.
Next, I would like to welcome Anchal Goel, co-founder of Sir, has a team of experts. Lastly, I would like to call Shanta Totham. She is from the
Half of the all has probably taken the vote of thanks already, but for the people who have been here, patient and extremely amazing event. I mean, from afternoon to this evening. Thank you. It would have been not possible without the support of each one of you, and I'm thanking you from the bottom of my heart for being here, making this event a very, very successful event. Especially the leadership of T-Hub and the marketing and program committee or the program team. I think Priyanka, Nidhi, Bandar, Ibad, Nidhi, everybody was really worked hard to put this event together. Many thank you for all of you guys, and for the participants and the people who have been here. Really appreciate your time, and thank you for being here with us. We look forward to having you every year, and I'm wishing this event grow bigger and bigger every year from here on. Thank you, and many congratulations to all the winners once again. Thank you so much.